You are white knuckling the steering wheel at 70 miles per hour, and the storm came out of nowhere. The kind of rain that makes the whole highway feel like it disappeared into a gray wall of static. And you need to change lanes right now because your exit is 30 feet away and disappearing fast. So you flick your eyes to the left side mirror, and what you see is absolutely nothing useful. Not a single coherent image, just a smeared kaleidoscope of orange and white headlights fragmenting through what looks like a sheet of frosted bathroom glass covered in 1,000 tiny liquid lenses, each one bending and distorting the light behind you into an unrecognizable blur that tells you exactly zero about whether there is a car sitting in your blind spot ready to put you into the guardrail. And your heart does that thing where it stops for half a second and then slams back into your chest with a vengeance because you genuinely cannot tell if it is safe to move over. And you have to make a decision in a fraction of a second based on nothing but instinct and a prayer. And that moment of pure terror is something every single driver in this comment section knows by heart. You have lived that moment, maybe more than once, maybe last Tuesday. And here is the part that should make your blood boil, because 2 weeks before that rainy night, you did exactly what every responsible car owner does. You walked into an auto parts store and you spent $15 on one of those premium hydrophobic glass treatments with the slick packaging and the professional grade branding and the promises of crystal clear vision in any weather condition, and you followed the instructions perfectly. You cleaned the glass, you applied the product in circular motions, you let it cure, and the next morning you stood back and felt genuinely good about yourself because your windshield looked absolutely flawless and water was beating off it like tiny mercury balls rolling across polished steel, and you thought you had solved the problem. But then the rain came, and you looked at your side mirrors, and they were just as useless as they ever were, covered in the same blurry sheet of refracting droplets that make nighttime rain driving feel like trying to navigate through a Salvador Dali painting. And you stood there in your driveway afterward, asking yourself why you wasted $15 on a product that apparently only works on one piece of glass on your entire vehicle, while leaving the two most critical situational awareness tools on your car completely blind and useless. And the answer to that question is something the automotive chemical industry is absolutely never going to volunteer to tell you. So I am going to tell you right now, and once you hear it, you are going to understand why everything they sell you is engineered to keep you confused and keep you buying. And more importantly, I am going to show you a fix that costs $1 and lives in your kitchen pantry right now and works on side mirrors in under 30 seconds in a way that no silicone spray on the market ever will. And that fix is a raw potato. Yes, you heard that correctly. A plain, ordinary raw potato from your grocery store. And the science behind why a potato works where a $15 automotive glass sealant catastrophically fails is so elegant and so brutally logical that by the time I finish explaining it, you are going to feel slightly ridiculous that nobody told you this sooner. But before I get into the chemistry, I need you to do one thing. Hit that subscribe button right now, not later, not at the end of the video, right now. Because this channel exists for one reason and one reason only: to pull back the curtain on every overpriced automotive product that takes money out of your wallet while solving exactly half of your problem. Because here is the truth that major detailing brands like Rain-X and Aquapel and every other hydrophobic glass formula manufacturer will never print on their label. Those products are not designed for your side mirrors. They are designed for your windshield. And they work brilliantly on your windshield because your windshield is moving through air at highway speed, and that airflow is what does the actual work. The hydrophobic coating creates perfectly spherical water beads, and the 60 plus miles per hour of wind pressure that hits your windshield while you are driving physically pushes those beads across the glass and flings them off the edge. The coating does not remove the water, the wind does. The coating just makes the water easier for the wind to grab and throw. But your side view mirrors are mounted on the flanks of your vehicle, and they sit in what aerodynamic engineers call a dead air pocket, a zone of turbulent, low-velocity air that forms along the side panels of every car at normal driving speeds. Your side mirrors are not getting 60 miles per hour of clean laminar airflow blasting across their surface They are sitting in a churning pocket of low energy air that does not have nearly enough velocity or directional consistency to push a single bead off that glass. So, what happens when you apply a hydrophobic coating to a surface that never gets sufficient airflow is that the coating does exactly what it is designed to do. It forms thousands of perfectly spherical, high contact angle water beads, and then those beads just sit there, motionless, because there is no wind to move them. And every single one of those tiny, transparent spheres acts like a miniature convex lens that takes the headlights of the car behind you and scatters that light in every direction simultaneously, multiplying one light source into dozens of blurry, overlapping ghost images that your brain cannot interpret as spatial information. And that is how a $15 product that works perfectly on your windshield turns your side mirrors into frosted glass in the rain. And those corporations know this. They know the fluid dynamics. They have engineers who understand surface tension and airflow coefficients. They know that their hydrophobic formula is the wrong tool for a static glass surface with no forced airflow, and they sell it to you anyway for every piece of glass on your car. Because the same bottle working on one surface means they have to make one product and charge you for a complete solution when they are actually delivering half of one. And that is exactly the kind of calculated consumer exploitation that this channel was built to expose. So subscribe, join this community, and let me show you what actually works. And what actually works is sitting in your kitchen right now and costs about $1 per use, or more accurately, about $1 for a bag of potatoes that will last you the next 6 months of rainy weather. And the reason a raw potato is the correct tool for a side mirror, while a chemical hydrophobic spray is the wrong tool, comes down to a concept called hydrophilic sheeting. And understanding the difference between hydrophobic and hydrophilic surface chemistry is going to permanently change how you think about automotive glass treatment. Hydrophobic surfaces repel water by increasing what chemists call the contact angle, which is the angle at which a water molecule meets a treated surface. A highly hydrophobic surface pushes that contact angle above 90 degrees, which causes water to pull itself into a tight sphere rather than spreading out. And that is great when you have wind to move those spheres, but catastrophic when you do not. Hydrophilic surfaces do the exact opposite. They reduce the contact angle to nearly 0 degrees, which means water does not bead at all. Instead, it spreads into the thinnest possible continuous film, a sheet so uniformly thin that light passes straight through it without being scattered. Because optical distortion in rain is not caused by water itself, it is caused by the curved surfaces of individual droplets acting as thousands of tiny lenses. Eliminate the droplets and replace them with a perfectly flat molecular sheet of water, and you eliminate the distortion entirely. And this is precisely what happens when you rub a raw potato across glass. Because a raw potato contains between 15 and 20% starch by weight, and when you cut that potato and press the exposed flesh against a glass surface, you are transferring a suspension of amylose and amylopectin molecules directly onto the glass. These are long chain polysaccharide molecules with an extremely high density of hydroxyl groups along their backbone. And hydroxyl groups are hydrophilic by nature because they form hydrogen bonds with water molecules readily and eagerly. When this starch layer dries on the glass, it creates a microscopically thin matrix of organic polymer chains that are chemically attracted to water. So, instead of a raindrop hitting your mirror and pulling itself into a ball because of surface tension, it hits the starch treated surface, and the hydroxyl groups in the starch immediately begin forming hydrogen bonds with the water molecule, pulling it laterally across the surface and forcing it to spread flat. And the incoming rain does not accumulate as droplets, it accumulates as a continuous, coherent sheet of water that lies perfectly parallel to the glass surface with no curvature and no spherical geometry to scatter light. And you see straight through it with complete clarity, the same way you can see clearly through a glass window that has a thin, continuous film of water running down it versus a window covered in individual droplets that turn everything behind it into an impressionist painting. And now, let me tell you what those $15 silicone glass sealants are actually doing to your side mirrors when you apply them. Because beyond the immediate problem of water beading with no wind to clear it, there is a long-term damage mechanism that the packaging will never mention. Silicone-based hydrophobic sealants are formulated to maximize water contact angles, and they do this by depositing a cross-linked silicone polymer network on the glass surface. This network is very durable. It is designed to last weeks or months, and because it is so durable, it continues to bead water perfectly on your static side mirror surface through rain after rain after rain. And every time a bead forms and then evaporates in the sun rather than sliding off, it leaves behind the mineral content that was dissolved in that rainwater: calcium carbonate, magnesium compounds, silica particles. And these mineral deposits build up over time in the exact spherical shape of the bead that left them behind. And because the silicone coating is chemically bonding to the glass surface at a molecular level, those mineral deposits are also becoming chemically integrated with the coating layer, and the result over the course of a season of use is a side mirror glass surface that is covered in a permanent constellation of hard mineral etch marks, each one a perfectly round ghost of a water bead. And these etch marks scatter light even on dry days. They make your mirror look hazy and aged, and they cannot be removed by washing because they have physically bonded with the glass matrix through a process called ionic etching, where the minerals from repeated evaporation cycles penetrate the silica structure of the glass surface itself. So the product you bought to protect your mirror vision is actively destroying your mirror glass at a microscopic level every time it rains and the sun comes out, and that is a damage mechanism that means you eventually need to replace or professionally polish your mirror glass, which costs considerably more than the $15 you spent on the product that caused the problem in the first place. Now, here is exactly how you use the potato method correctly, and I need you to pay close attention to every step, including the warning I am going to give you at the end of the protocol, because if you skip the warning, you will create a problem that is significantly worse than blurry mirrors in the protocol. Rain. First, you need to start with a completely clean mirror glass surface. Use your regular glass cleaner and a clean microfiber cloth to remove all existing dirt, old product residue, water spots, and oil contamination. You cannot apply the starch layer over contaminants because the starch will bond to the contamination rather than the glass, and the hydrophilic effect will be inconsistent and patchy. Once the glass is clean and dry, you take a fresh raw potato and you cut it cleanly in half with a sharp knife to expose a flat, fresh surface of potato flesh. You then press the cut face of the potato directly against the mirror glass and rub it in slow, overlapping passes across the entire glass surface. You are looking to deposit a visibly even haze of starch across every square centimeter of the mirror glass. Use moderate pressure and make sure you cover the edges completely, because those are the areas where water tends to sheet and collect first. After you have covered the entire surface, you set the potato down and you wait exactly 1 minute. Do not skip the drying time. The starch suspension needs 60 seconds to begin polymerizing into a coherent film on the glass surface. If you buff it before it partially sets, you will simply wipe most of it off and lose the hydrophilic effect. After 1 minute has passed, you take a clean, dry microfiber cloth and you lightly buff the haze smooth using gentle circular motions. You are not trying to remove all of the starch. You are trying to smooth the film into a uniform thickness across the surface. The glass should look slightly clearer than it did during the haze stage, but you may still see a very faint sheen. That is the starch film, and it is exactly what you want. And now the critical warning that you must not ignore under any circumstances. When you are rubbing the potato across the glass, you must be extremely deliberate about keeping the wet, starchy potato flesh away from the edges and corners of the mirror housing. The point where the glass meets the plastic mirror casing creates a gap or crevasse. And if you allow thick, wet deposits of potato starch to accumulate in that gap or in any corner of the mirror housing, you are creating a perfect growth medium for biological contamination. Raw potato starch is an organic compound that is rich in carbohydrates and moisture, and when it sits wet and trapped inside a plastic mirror housing in warm, humid weather, it will begin growing black mold and bacteria within 24 to 48 hours. And because your mirror housing has a small ventilation gap that faces toward your door seals, The air currents created by driving at speed will pull air from inside the mirror housing and push it through the gap between your door window and your door seal and directly into your cabin, and that air will carry mold spores and the distinctly rancid odor of decomposing organic starch into your interior continuously every time you drive. And eliminating that contamination once it is established inside a mirror housing requires dismounting the mirror, disassembling the housing, and sanitizing the interior surfaces, which is a labor intensive job that a body shop will charge you an annoying amount of money to perform. So keep the potato application on the glass surface only. Use a clean, dry cloth to wipe any starch deposits away from the plastic housing before they dry in place, and you will never have this problem. The fix is clean and fast, and it costs $1. So let me put this in terms that make the choice absolutely obvious. On one side, you have a $15 silicone glass sealant that works beautifully on your windshield and turns your side mirrors into optical disasters in the rain, slowly etches permanent mineral deposits into your mirror glass with every dry cycle, and leaves you white knuckling your steering wheel through every serious rainstorm, trying to interpret a blurry mess of refracted headlights as actionable spatial information. And on the other side, you have a raw potato from your grocery store that costs a fraction of that price, deposits a microscopically thin hydrophilic starch film on your mirror glass in 30 seconds, forces every raindrop that hits your mirror to collapse into a perfectly flat, transparent sheet instead of a vision destroying bead, and gives you clear, unobstructed rear lateral vision even in the heaviest downpour without a single synthetic chemical, without a single specialized tool, and without a single dollar spent at an auto parts store. The choice is not complicated. The science is not complicated. The only complicated part was that nobody told you this before today. So do your part right now and share this video immediately with every driver you know who has ever gripped that steering wheel a little too tight during a rainstorm. Send it to the person in your life who complains about driving in the rain. Tag the friend who just bought a new car and is about to waste money on a full glass treatment kit that will leave their mirrors just as blind as before because the next big storm is already coming and the $1 solution is sitting in your kitchen right now.